Okay, so once again, this is a little video to talk about the things that have been added. I have removed the Essay 3, which was going to be a completely different assignment from what you've already been doing, and have decided on the superior assignment of Portfolio, which means that you take Essay 1 and you do some research and you reconsider what it says and you basically rewrite it. Having gone through the process one time, um, methods of improvement, these are good things to work on, good development for you for the future. Okay, so basically you're going to open your Essay 1, you're going to go and get your EBSCOhost source from the trade publications, and then you're going to look back at the Essay 1 assignment sheet, and you're going to ask yourself, really, do I have the structure that's demanded from the assignment? Do I have part 1, the search story? Do I speak well to each of these prompts here in this particular order? And is it possible to just sort of draw a line here and say, okay, the next one is search results? Or do you have your paragraphs mixed up with different pieces in different places? If that's a problem, then you need to go back and reconsider your essay structure. Do you start with search story? Do you begin by engaging readers' attention and interest? Do you follow that with explaining why learning more about this topic was personally important to you? Is this the sort of thing that takes up a whole body paragraph, or a whole introduction? Maybe so. Do you follow that with explaining what you already knew about the topic before you even started researching? Okay. This might be a thing that you don't change from the original, but maybe you do, because you've done some extra research, you've learned more about your field, and so maybe there's something else you want to explain you knew and didn't know, and that has to go there. So there are reasons why you might consider revising any of these 3 points, right? You might expand on them. You might explain more clearly. In fact, our last couple of lessons have been about introducing a naysayer. Is there a naysayer having to do with your goal for your career? Maybe that naysayer is you or was you. Maybe that naysayer is a parent, or maybe just sort of general ideas in the res publica, in the mind of the public, having to do with whether or not your choice is a good choice. Engaging with a naysayer at the beginning creates interest in your paper, just like your They Say, I Say textbook tells you. So that might be something you consider doing. Let readers know what you wanted to learn and why, should come after that. And then you should be stating your main question and the sub-questions that support it. That may well be its own paragraph, or it may be the second half of a paragraph with these two together. Then you retrace your research steps. That you certainly have to write over again, because you have a whole new job of research that you did. So retrace those research steps. Describe the search terms that you used in each different database for each different subject, and what sources you used. So that's something you're definitely going to be rewriting. Discuss things that went well and things that were challenging, and that might be a nice place for you to talk about the difference between using Google and using EBSCOhost. What is the strength of one and the weakness of it? What is the strength of the other and the weakness of it, for example, if you like? Or what 2 different things would you use them to do, such as, for example, beginning with Google and then going to EBSCOhost once you have search terms in tow. Share with readers the big picture of your most significant findings. Why am I doing this structure in particular? Because this is the way that your science and social science papers will pretty much always be organized. If you write a lab report for a biology class, it's going to have this structure. So will any paper you might write for chemistry, any paper you might write for child development, any paper you might write for sociology, and so on, and so on, and so on. In those fields of study, the sciences and the social sciences, this is pretty much the organization that they use. So you'll want to try and adhere to that, and it'll help you learn how to write papers for your other classes. Search results goes second. So you can see the search story is big and long, and indeed in publications in the sciences and social sciences, the search story, that can be over half the paper, actually. That's not uncommon at all. And search results, it's very often a few diagrams, a few charts, maybe 4 paragraphs, maybe not as many as 4 paragraphs. Search results tends to be short, even in a 25-page paper. Because basically you're saying, 25% of our subjects had this result. And you're not really doing a lot to analyze it just yet. You just describe your results and you give support. You use finding statements. I found, I discovered, it was revealed. No, don't say that. But you're basically showing what you found, and you properly cite all information from sources. I should add a point. The first time you wrote this paper, I said no works cited page, and because there was no works cited page, you notice that you were required to have every container stated in that paper, which is to say, you needed to name the job ad, you needed to name the company that offered the job, you needed to name the database that you got it from, if it was Indeed.com, for example, or Monsters.com, for example. You needed to name those. You also named Google at some point or another. Well, now, you're asked to write works cited pages for these papers, and so all of that publication information, it goes on your works cited page, and you have to take it out of your text. Don't junk up your text with that. Inside your text, when you cite something, generally the only thing that goes there is going to be author's name, any special credential about the author. If you're using sources that don't have an author, then you're naming the web pages, but you're not giving tons and tons of information and junking up your prose style with publication information. That stuff gets shifted back to the works cited page. It comes out of the paper proper. Okay, and then the last section is your search results. And your search reflections is the third part. And normally in a social science or science type paper, that's going to be about the last 3 to 4 paragraphs of a great big huge paper. And you might think of it as, if you like, Judy Jetson's dress on the Jetsons, which is to say that your introduction is shaped like an inverted triangle, and your conclusion is shaped, if you like a skirt. A conclusion area can start with something specific. So search reflections, the first point. Discuss what you learned from your research results. So you're speaking, the top part of number 3 is speaking back directly to what you've had to say in number 2. So you're talking about those results as objects, okay? And then what you should do after that is really assess yourself in relation to those search results. So this first point is going to be really, really specific. And this second point, assessing yourself, that's a little bit more general of a point. And you can think of it in terms of, after doing this research, do you still, how strong is your preparedness for doing the work that you see ahead? What are your obstacles that you see ahead? How big a factor is your determination? How determined are you to complete this goal? I was telling my face-to-face class students, most community college students who actually make it to graduation with a bachelor's degree within 6 years, those people had grit, determination. That was the primary thing that they had. It wasn't up to anything else, necessarily, even preparedness. It was up to the will to do it and the will to get other things out of your way so that you can. Anyway, and last, of course, your desire. Do you still want to do what you thought you wanted to do? Did you learn something different? Do you want to do it now more than ever? Have you learned that there's something specific within that field that you really desire most of all, more than the general area itself? Okay, and then, of course, you're going to end with how might your experience and what you learned affect your choices and opportunities in the future. And that bit is your conclusion.